There is a quiet truth that rides on the breath of the morning wind, that waits in the stillness between heartbeats, that calls to you not with thunder, but with a whisper, and it says, ever so gently, you are loved. Not someday, not conditionally, not when you've proven yourself, but now. Now, in this sacred moment as you are, without adornment or justification, you are deeply and infinitely loved by the very fabric of life itself. The universe is not a distant spectator to your pain or your joy. It is the womb from which you were born and the arms into which you are always being called home. But here is the truth that most miss. This love is not something you earn. It is something you receive. It is not granted in exchange for your striving, your achievements, or your perfection. It is given freely, eternally, and abundantly. The only requirement is your openness. To open is to soften. To receive is to remember. You do not become worthy of divine love. You awaken to the reality that you were never apart from it. We have been trained to believe that we must chase love, manufacture worth, prove our belonging, but the soul does not subscribe to such scarcity. The soul knows only abundance. The soul is like a flower that never questions the sun. It simply opens, and the light pours in. So why then do we hesitate to open? Why do we clench our fists and tighten our hearts against the very grace we long for? Because we have mistaken safety for control. We have learned to close ourselves as a form of protection, believing that the world is hostile, that love is rare, that trust is dangerous. But this illusion of separation is the only real suffering. To believe that you must do something to be loved is to forget the nature of the infinite. The Tao does not need your performance. God does not require your resume. The universe does not tally your successes or your failures. It simply asks, will you let me in? And in that letting in that sacred surrender, life begins to change, not because you have altered the world, but because you have finally aligned with it. You are not meant to bend the river of life to your will. You are meant to flow with it, to let it carry you, to trust that its current knows your destination, even when your mind does not. When you stop pushing against the stream, when you stop demanding that life look a certain way before you let yourself feel peace, then and only then do you awaken to the great paradox. Everything you thought you needed to control was already being held by a wisdom far greater than your fear. You are like the branch trying to hold up the tree. You are like the candle trying to light the sundae. You are already part of a greater harmony. Your task is not to direct it, but to trust it, to open your heart like a window and allow the breeze of grace to enter. Jesus said, ask and it shall be given, seek and ye shall find, knock and the door shall be opened. But what he did not say yet, implied in every breath, is that you must also be willing to receive. The door of grace swings wide, but you must walk through. The universe pours blessings into your life, but you must hold out your hands. You must dare to believe not in your ego's narrative, but in your soul's truth, that you are already enough to be loved fully and without hesitation. You see, the sun does not wait for the flower to bloom before it shines. It shines, and in that light, the flower remembers how to open. In the same way, the universe does not wait for you to be perfect. It simply loves. It simply radiates. It simply offers. And the miracle happens the moment you stop resisting, the moment you stop shrinking, the moment you stop pretending that you are not already whole. To receive love is to allow your being to return to its natural state. Children do not question their worthiness to be held. Trees do not wonder if they've earned the rain. The stars do not feel shame for shining. Why then should you? Let this be the day you stop apologizing for existing. Let this be the hour you stop explaining your beauty to a world that has forgotten its own. Let this be the moment you open without defense to the flood of light that has never stopped trying to reach you. There is a divine intelligence that knows your name without needing to hear it. It has counted your tears without keeping score. It has walked beside you in the silent corridors of your grief, and it has rejoiced in the quiet victories you never thought to celebrate. This intelligence, this love, does not reside in the sky above you or the ground beneath you. It lives within you. It breathes as you. It pulses through your very cells. And its only request is that you stop long enough to feel it. Pause, breathe, feel. This is not a transaction. This is a homecoming. And yet the ego will resist. It will say, I am not ready. I must first heal. I must first achieve. I must first deserve. But the soul whispers, you are already ready. You are already healed in your essence. You are already whole. Open now. Open while afraid. Open in the midst of uncertainty. Open because love is not postponed, it is present. Even the act of breathing is a testament to receiving. You cannot exhale if you do not first inhale. Life itself is an invitation to receive before you give, to be filled before you pour, to be loved before you love. And when you live this way, when you open to the stream, instead of resisting it, you begin to radiate a different frequency. One of trust, one of grace, one of quiet power that needs no armor. Others feel it in your presence even if they don't understand why. You become like a fire in the dark, not loud, not forceful, but steady, warm, unshakable. You do not preach this love, you embody it. You do not explain it, you express it. You do not seek it, you become it. And in becoming it, you give others permission to do the same. This is how the world is healed, not through ideology or noise, but through open hearts living in alignment with truth. Do not underestimate the power of a heart fully open to love. It can disarm fear. It can transmute pain. It can lift the veil of forgetfulness that keeps so many asleep. And so I ask you now, not from my mind, but from the eternal place in me that sees the eternal in you, will you open? Will you receive not just the good days, but the ordinary ones? Not just the light, but the lessons in shadow. Not just the blessings, but the mystery behind them. The universe is not waiting to love you, it already does. It's waiting for you to believe it. And when you do, life will not become perfect, but it will become sacred. You will begin to see the divine not only in mountaintops and sunsets, but in the mirror, in your flaws, in your longing, in your laughter, in your silence, in your stumbling toward the light. The universe loves you. You are already enough. You are already home. Just open and receive. And when you begin to live in this sacred receiving, something subtle yet profound starts to shift. The way you look at the world changes not because the world has softened, but because you have. You become porous to grace. The moments that once passed you by unnoticed now shimmer with significance. The ordinary becomes drenched in wonder. A raindrop on your skin, the hush of twilight, the still gaze of a stranger, each becomes a doorway into the infinite. You are no longer racing to reach life's summit. You are learning to savor the climb. Not because the climb is easy, but because your heart is open enough to see that every step, even the weary ones, carries the hand of God. You no longer pray only for answers, you pray to awaken. You pray not to be spared from pain, but to be deepened by it. And in that prayer, you stop negotiating with life. You begin to trust it. There is a peace that comes not from the absence of chaos, but from the presence of surrender. It is the peace of knowing that you do not need to figure it all out, that you are not the architect of the entire cosmos, that you are the vessel, not the vessel maker. And when you truly receive that, knowing not as a concept, but as a living reality, it unburdens you in ways words cannot express. You walk lighter, not because your path is easier, but because your spirit is no longer carrying what was never yours to hold. You speak more truthfully, not because you have mastered every word, but because you have allowed your voice to rise from a place deeper than certainty, a place called presence. Presence is not passive. It is profoundly creative. It is the space in which the divine paints your life in colors your ego could never imagine. To live in presence is to co-create with the universe, to be in rhythm with a wisdom that sees beyond your temporary wants and leads you toward your eternal becoming. And oh, how tender this becoming island. It does not shout, it does not demand. It unfolds like petals opening to the sun, each layer revealing a more authentic version of you, one that does not seek applause but alignment, one that does not hunger for validation but rests in the quiet joy of being true. This truth is not static. It breathes with you. It evolves as you evolve. It speaks in the language of the soul, which is never rigid, never forceful. It moves like music heard through the heart, not the ears. And the more you tune in, the more you begin to recognize it in everything, in the patterns of the leaves, in the pauses between words, in the aching beauty of your own breath. The soul does not measure time the way the mind does. It is not in a hurry. It does not fear delays. It does not keep score. The soul knows that even when you feel lost, you are being guided. That even when doors close, you are being redirected. That even in the stillness, something sacred is ripening within you. So do not fear the seasons of quiet. Do not resist the in-between. These are not voids to be filled, but spaces to be honored. The caterpillar does not resent the cocoon, it surrenders to it. Trust that something holy is always at work beneath what appears to be nothing. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. Prepared to receive not just more, but deeper. Not just answers, but wisdom. Not just relief, but revelation. And the revelation is this: you were never separate from the light you seek. You were only taught to close your eyes. But the eyes of the soul never shut. And when you begin to see with them, you stop looking for signs, because your whole life becomes one. Every encounter, every heartbreak, every unexpected turn, they all begin to feel like sacred choreography, drawing you closer to the only truth that matters. You are not alone in this. You never were, and you never will be. So rest, beloved soul, not in resignation, but in trust. Let your heart be soft. Let your hands be open. Let your life be a quiet testament to the truth that the universe does not abandon its own. It carries you. It speaks through you. It lives as you. And it loves you not because of what you've done, but because of who you are. Just keep opening, keep receiving, keep remembering. And as you remain open, moment by moment, breath by breath, you begin to feel something ancient and unshakable return to its rightful throne within you. It is not a sensation like happiness, nor a fleeting wave of excitement. It is deeper. It is quieter. It is the remembrance of your own sacred rhythm. A rhythm that has always been there, even beneath the static of the world. A rhythm that does not speed up for anyone's expectations or slow down for anyone's approval. It moves like the tide, steady and eternal, asking nothing but your presence. In that rhythm, fear begins to dissolve, not by force, but by understanding. For fear only survives where love has been forgotten. And now, with every soft moment of receiving, with every sacred pause where you allow yourself to be held by life rather than hold it all together, love begins to occupy the empty spaces where fear once made its home. Not dramatic, not explosive, but gently, thoroughly, like morning light spilling through a once-shuttered room. You stop needing to rush into the future because you trust the ground beneath your feet now. You stop needing the world to reflect your worth because your worth becomes a felt experience, not a concept. It is no longer an idea you chase, but a truth you inhabit. The kind of truth that anchors you like a tree, rooted deep in unseen soil. Winds may come, seasons may change, but you stand. Not because you are unmoved, but because your essence is held by something far more enduring than circumstance. And in this groundedness, your relationships begin to shift. You no longer seek others to complete what feels missing. You meet them from fullness. You no longer beg to be seen, you see yourself. And so you grant others that same blessing, the gift of being fully received without agenda, without control. Just presence, meeting presence. Soul, recognizing soul. This is the holy space where real love lives. Not the kind that clings or fixes or seeks to be rescued, but the love that flows naturally from an open vessel. The love that says, I do not need you to change so I can feel safe. I am already safe in the truth of who I am. From this place, love is no longer an exchange, it is an overflow. And your creations too begin to take on new life. You no longer create from pressure or performance, but from listening. You listen to what wants to be born through you, and you trust it. You trust that inspiration is not something to manufacture, it is something to welcome. You stop trying to impress the world and begin to express your soul. Your art, your words, your work, your silence, it all becomes sacred when it comes from alignment, not approval. Even your challenges begin to shimmer with purpose. You no longer ask, why is this happening to me? But instead, what part of me is being invited to awaken through this? You no longer see your wounds as evidence of failure, but as sacred ground where compassion grows. You meet your own suffering not with judgment, but with reverence. Like a mother holding a crying child, you hold your pain close, not to fix it, but to love it into wholeness. This is how you become a healer, not by having all the answers, but by becoming a space where the sacred can unfold. A space where people feel safe to take off their masks, not because you told them to, but because yours was already removed. A space where truth doesn't need to be spoken loudly to be heard. It radiates from the stillness of your presence. And oh, how deeply the world needs that stillness now. Not more noise, not more strategies, but more souls willing to live as lighthouses rather than lifeguards. Souls who remember that their presence is enough to illuminate the dark, that their being grounded, open, surrendered is the medicine this aching world is longing for. But to offer that medicine, you must continue to receive it. This is the paradox. You cannot pour from depletion and expect to nourish. You cannot give what you are unwilling to accept. So you become the sacred student of your own wholeness. You become the receiver of your own love. Not once, not occasionally, but constantly. Each morning you wake not asking what needs to be done, but what wants to be received. And as you receive, you are filled not just with strength, but with softness. Not just with knowledge, but with wisdom. Not just with energy, but with essence. And it is from that essence that your life begins to whisper its truest song, a song that only you can sing. A song that was placed within your soul before time, and that has waited patiently for you to stop trying to become and simply start being. Not perfectly, not all at once, but honestly, gently, receptively. The universe has not been asking you to work harder. It has been asking you to open wider. And now you are ready, because the moment you truly open, the veil lifts not the veil that hides the world from your eyes, but the veil that hid you from yourself. And what is revealed is not some distant destiny, but the truth that was always humming beneath your skin, that you are not just worthy of love, you are the very expression of it. Not a vessel to be filled, but a flame to be remembered. And so you begin to live differently, not because you've been told how to live, but because you've touched something so real, so alive within you that you can no longer betray it. You can no longer pretend you are small when you have felt the vastness within. You can no longer act from fear when you have tasted the freedom of trust. You can no longer bow to the false gods of success, perfection, and performance when you have bowed before the altar of your own being and seen the face of the divine looking back. This is not a one-time awakening. This is not a grand epiphany that solves everything. It is a moment-by-moment remembrance, a daily surrender, 1,000 quiet choices to stay open, to stay soft, to stay receptive to a love that does not need your strength, but your vulnerability. A love that does not arrive with thunder, but slips in with the silence. A love that needs only one thing to thrive in you, your willingness to allow it. And oh, how radical that allowing is in a world that tells you to harden, to guard, to control, but you are no longer interested in guarding what no longer needs to be defended. You are no longer interested in controlling a life that flows more beautifully when you release your grip. You are no longer interested in proving anything, because the moment you receive the truth of who you are, there is nothing left to prove. You begin to walk into each day like a prayer, not the kind that pleads, but the kind that praises. Not the kind that asks for more, but the kind that says thank you for what already island. Every breath becomes a hallelujah. Every act, no matter how small, becomes sacred when performed from alignment. Washing your hands, holding a door, listening fully. These become portals to grace when you are present enough to recognize the divine in them. You no longer need to perform spirituality, you become it. Not because of what you do, but because of how you see. You see with the eyes of the soul now. Eyes that do not judge, but understand. Eyes that do not categorize, but bless. You see the same source in the bird and the beggar, the ocean and the tear, the newborn child and the withered hand. And in this seeing, your life becomes a hymn to unity. Division no longer makes sense when you have felt the one. Comparison dissolves when you've remembered the wholeness. You stop measuring your journey against another's because you know that the universe custom wrote your path like a love letter from the infinite. And even when you do not understand its words, you trust its author. Yes, even when the path feels steep, even when the winds howl, even when the questions outweigh the answers. You trust not because it is easy, but because it is true. You trust not because there are no more storms, but because you've discovered the I within them, the place where peace lives, unmoved, untouched, unshaken. And that peace is no longer something you seek, it is something you carry. It goes with you into rooms heavy with tension and lightens the air. It goes with you into conversations and transforms them into connection. It walks beside you into your fears and reminds you that light is not the absence of darkness, but the refusal to abandon yourself in the midst of it. This is the gift of receiving. You become what you once thought you lacked. You become the love you longed for. You become the peace you prayed for. You become the clarity you searched for in 1,000 books and 1,000,000 voices. And once you've tasted this becoming, you do not return to sleep. You do not return to the illusion that anything outside of you can ever substitute for what is within. You do not return to the bargain of, if I achieve, then I am worthy. That contract has been burned in the fire of truth. You have signed a new one, now a covenant, not with the world, but with your soul. And that soul speaks in a language older than words. It speaks through resonance, through beauty, through presence. It does not shout. It does not rush. It says simply, here I am, always. Will you meet me here? And you will, again and again. Because you've remembered that the universe was never waiting for you to become anything. It was simply waiting for you to receive everything you already are. And now that you've remembered, the very cadence of your days begins to shift. It's not that life becomes simpler sometimes. It will still challenge you, stretch you, press you against the edges of your comfort, but it no longer overwhelms you because you no longer meet life as someone lost trying to get somewhere. You meet it as someone found, someone rooted, someone who knows the terrain of their soul and trusts its wisdom more than the noise of passing winds. You stop striving to make each moment significant, and instead you allow each moment to show you its inherent holiness. You stop needing proof of your path because the alignment you feel inside is proof enough. When the inner voice says yes, you walk even if no one else understands. When it says wait, you pause without apology, without justification. And when it says nothing at all, you learn to rest in the silence, knowing that stillness is not emptiness, but the sacred womb from which new knowing is born. The old self, the one who chased and doubted and braced for impact, still appears at times. But now, you recognize it as a visitor, not the host. You offer it compassion, not control. You sit with it like a gentle friend who no longer needs to fix you because you no longer mistake your thoughts for your truth. You are the sky now, and these passing clouds, these fears, judgments, urgencies no longer define the vastness of your being. And in this spaciousness, the future no longer frightens you. You do not need to see every step ahead because you walk with presence, not with plans. Your life becomes less like a script and more like a song you do not need to compose ahead of time because its melody arises in the moment. And this melody, this quiet vibration of love that emanates from your very presence, touches more lives than you will ever know. You become a sanctuary not because you have no wounds, but because you have stopped hiding them. Not because you are flawless, but because your wholeness is not defined by the absence of pain. It is revealed in your ability to love through it. You become the place where others remember their own light, not because you told them what to do, but because your way of being reminds them of who they are. You do not need to fix the world. You do not need to convince, convert, or crusade. You only need to radiate, to breathe, to trust that your alignment, your stillness, your openness is enough to shift the energy around you in ways unseen and immeasurable. You understand now that healing is not about never being broken. It is about knowing in your deepest being that nothing true in you has ever been broken. The essence of you has never been touched by fear, never been scarred by failure, never been dimmed by doubt. It has only been veiled, and now the veil is lifting. And with it, the ache of seeking begins to dissolve, not because you've stopped growing, but because you've stopped resisting the pace and path of your own unfolding. You trust that what is yours will not miss you. You trust that love, when it flows from alignment, cannot be taken away. You trust that the blessings meant for you will arrive not through striving, but through surrender. You move through the world with the quiet grace of one who is no longer chasing the light, but carrying it. You do not impose your truth, you embody it. You do not need to persuade, you radiate. And your life without effort becomes a lighthouse for others who are still remembering the way. This is the gift of receiving. You become the very source you once sought. You become the love the world is waiting for. Not someday, not once you've done more, become more, proven more, but now because you've opened, now because you've surrendered, now because the universe has always loved you, and finally you have loved yourself enough to receive it. And now, as we arrive at the quiet edge of this journey, not a destination, but a soft arrival within the truth rests in you like a still lake beneath the stars. Not because all questions have been answered, but because something more profound has occurred. You have become the answer. Not the answer to the mind's inquiries, but to the soul's yearning. Not the solution to the world's noise, but the silence that makes the noise irrelevant. Not the hero of a quest for approval, but the witness of a miracle already unfolding, the miracle of you, awakened, aware, and unafraid to simply be. You see, the greatest freedom is not found in the absence of burden, but in the realization that you were never the one carrying it. The moment you stepped aside, the moment you stopped trying to force life to fit into your idea of how it should be, life revealed how deeply it was always for you, never against you. You do not need to ascend to some higher place to touch the sacred. You have already touched it by opening your heart to this breath, this moment, this now. You have come home, not to a future version of yourself, but to the quiet truth that was waiting beneath the noise all along. You have discovered that the universe was not a mystery to be solved, but a beloved to be embraced. And oh, how it has longed for you to know this. How patiently it waited, not in judgment, but in tenderness. Every delay was not punishment, it was preparation. Every heartache was not a curse, it was a doorway. Every longing was not lack, it was love disguised as a question, leading you back to the place where no answers are needed, where being is enough. You were never too late. You were never too far gone. You were simply gathering the pieces of yourself that you had scattered across time, believing you had to become something, someone, somewhere before you were worthy of coming home. But now the gathering is complete. Now the searching is stilled. Now the flower has opened not because it was forced, but because the light was finally received. And so you walk on, not elevated above life, but deeply woven into its fabric. You laugh, you cry, you stumble, you rise, not because you are enlightened, but because you are real. You no longer wear the mask of perfection, but the radiance of presence. The world will still move, as it does fast, loud, uncertain, but you will move through it differently, with soft eyes, with a quiet soul, with a heart that no longer asks, what do I lack? But instead whispers, how can I give from the fullness I now know? This is the return, not to something outside of you, but to the vastness within. You have not become something new, you have remembered who you've always been beneath the forgetting. And from that remembering you live. You live with gentleness, because you know everyone is carrying what they can't quite name. You live with reverence because you see the sacred in everything. You live with love, not as a duty, but as your natural state. And when life brings its waves, as it surely will, you no longer panic. You no longer brace. You become the ocean again. Deep, moved, but never destroyed. This is your birthright. Not to be someone else, but to be fully, freely, fearlessly you. The universe has never stopped loving you. And now, you love yourself enough to receive it. So rest now, not in exhaustion, but in grace. Walk on, not to prove anything, but to express everything. And let the song of your soul be heard, not in volume, but in truth. For the truth has never been far. It has always been within, and now you remember. And now you are free. There is a silent truth that has echoed through the cosmos since the first breath of creation. It is not written in stone, nor is it shouted from mountaintops. It is whispered gently by the stars, hummed in the breeze, pulsing through the oceans and reverberating in every beat of your heart. Everything is energy, and so are you. You are not a solid, fixed thing walking through a world of concrete. You are not just a name or a story wrapped in skin. You are vibration. You are frequency. You are a sacred symphony of moving particles, each one singing the silent song of the universe itself. The walls you see, the thoughts you think, the emotions you feel, they are all energy in motion, patterns dancing within the field of the unseen. And in the center of it all is you, the observer, the dreamer, the divine conductor of your own experience. You were never separate from this field. You did not drop into it from the outside. You are it. You are not walking through the universe. The universe is walking through you. The light of a distant galaxy is made of the same photons that pass through your pupils. The waves of a distant ocean are kin to the waves of emotion that ripple through your heart. What you call you is not a single point. It is a field, expansive and connected to all that island. To know this is to begin awakening. Not awakening to a new belief, but to the remembrance of what has always been. Energy does not judge. It does not punish or reward. It simply responds, it reflects, it matches. Your life is not happening to you, it is echoing from you. The people you meet, the experiences you draw in, the patterns that repeat, these are not accidents. They are resonances, mirrors, frequencies responding to frequencies. And when you understand this, not in your intellect, but in your being, everything changes. Because you realize finally that you are not a victim of the world you see. You are its author. not from the mind's control, but from the soul's alignment. The question is not, what will the world give me today? The question is, what am I broadcasting today? What vibration am I offering? What frequency am I tuning into? Because the universe does not hear your words, it feels your energy. This is the reason affirmations sometimes fail. You can speak of abundance while vibrating scarcity. You can declare love while radiating fear. Energy does not lie. It does not obey appearances. It responds to your deepest signal, the one behind your eyes, beneath your posture, beneath the smile. It listens to the real you, the vibrational signature of your inner state. So if you wish to change your life, do not merely rearrange the furniture of your outer world. Do not merely affirm what your energy still resists. Instead, return inward. Tune your frequency. Raise your vibration not by striving, but by remembering who you are. You are energy, but not just any energy. You are divine energy, sacred intelligence, creative force cloaked in form. You are the breath of God disguised as a person. You are the wave pretending it is not the ocean. You are the sunbeam that is momentarily forgotten. It comes from the Sunday. This forgetting is not a flaw, it is the journey. It is the sacred sleep from which you now begin to awaken. And as you wake, you remember, you were never broken, you were never lacking. You were simply vibrating at the level of forgetting. Now you rise, not through effort, but through remembrance. As Rumi once said, you were born with wings, why prefer to crawl through life? You were born with light. You were born as energy in perfect harmony with all that island. But the world taught you to identify with the dust, the form, the labels. It taught you to measure yourself by what you could see and touch. And in doing so, you began to believe the illusion that you were separate, that you are alone, that you are a fragment. But energy cannot be divided. It only appears so. Your soul is not a piece of something greater. It is the entirety of the divine, localized within your form. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean encoded in a single drop. When Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is within you, he wasn't speaking metaphorically. He was describing the vibrational field of truth, the inner realm where your divine energy already resides. Not in the future, not after enlightenment, but now, in this moment, in this breath. You see, the truth does not need time, only the ego does. The ego says, one day I will be healed, one day I will find peace, one day I will be worthy. But energy lives only now. And your soul has never doubted your worth, not for one breath. It has always known you as whole. It has always held you as light. So the question is not how to become that light, but how to stop dimming it, how to stop believing the thoughts that lower your frequency, how to stop accepting the lies the world told you about who you are and what you deserve. These are not small lies. These are the roots of suffering. But you are ready now. You are ready to vibrate at the frequency of truth. You are ready to become a match to your own divine essence. You are ready to walk not as a seeker, but as a seer. Not as one who chases the light, but as one who radiates it. And how do you do this? By choosing the higher frequency in every moment. Not through pressure, but through presence. You choose love over fear, forgiveness over resentment, surrender over control, stillness over noise, trust over doubt. You begin to feel the subtle shift inside you when you tune out of panic and into peace. That shift, tiny as it may seem, is everything. It is the whole universe rearranging itself around your new vibration. You are a tuning fork, and your state of being calls forth matching melodies from the field of creation. Life is not personal, it is vibrational. It does not reward good people or punish bad ones. It simply responds to resonance. The more you become aware of what you're radiating, the more empowered you become to shift your entire life. And yet, this power is not forceful, it is gentle. Like the Tao, it flows, it bends, it allows. It is not a hammer, it is a current. And the more you align with it, the more you realize that you don't need to push life into place. You simply need to align, and life arranges itself. This is not magic, it is law. It is the sacred law of energy, echoed in every scripture, every spiritual teaching, every scientific discovery. What you are is what you see. What you radiate is what returns. So start now, not by fixing yourself, but by feeling yourself. Feel the energy of your breath. Feel the vibration of your gratitude. Feel the radiance of your being when you stop trying to be someone. This is your natural frequency. And from this frequency, miracles are not rare, they are inevitable. They are not interruptions in the natural order, they are the natural order. The more you align, the more you receive. Not because you begged, but because you matched. Not because you proved, but because you remembered. And in this remembrance, in this sacred returning to your true vibration, you become what you were always meant to be. A living embodiment of the divine frequency. A lighthouse in a world of static. A gentle song that reminds others of the music in their own soul. You become the medicine, the message, the miracle. Because energy is not what you have. Energy is what you are. And what you are is love. And so, as the river of truth continues its sacred descent into your being, let yourself soften even more. Let the resistance fall like old leaves from a tree no longer needing to prove its bloom. For what you are remembering now is not merely that you are energy, but that energy itself is intelligent. It moves with purpose. It flows with consciousness. It does not collide randomly, it orchestrates with intention. And the more you allow yourself to trust its flow, the more your life begins to feel like a dance, not a struggle. This intelligence does not shout over the noise of the world. It waits in silence beneath every breath, behind every heartbeat. You may have called it intuition, a hunch, a knowing, but it is more ancient than words. It is the voice of Source speaking in frequencies rather than syllables. And when you listen not with your ears but with your presence, it tells you everything you need to know, not in explanations but in peace, not in directions but in clarity. You have been conditioned to believe that clarity comes from control, but clarity arises not from grasping but from aligning. It is not born in thought, it is born in stillness. And this stillness is not the absence of movement, it is the presence of harmony. When your inner frequency harmonizes with truth, even the storm around you becomes sacred. You stop fearing the wind because you have become the sky. Look around and you will see that nature never hurries, yet everything is accomplished. The tree does not rush to bear fruit, nor does the ocean strain to reach the shore. They move in rhythm with the eternal pulse. So must you. Not because slowness is the goal, but because surrender is the pathway. When you surrender to the current of your own energy, you stop trying to be the river and start flowing as it. This is the shift from force to flow, from tension to trust. It is not weakness, it is divine strength. To trust your energy is to trust life itself. To know that you are not being tossed in chaos, but carried in intelligence. That even the challenges, even the losses are not curses, they are recalibrations. The energy of your life is always seeking coherence, always drawing you back into alignment with your highest truth. Sometimes this realignment comes as joy, sometimes as heartbreak, but both are sacred. Both are energetic invitations back to the center of your being. Pain is not a punishment, it is a tuning fork. It rattles your structure so that the false notes fall away and only the pure tone remains. And that tone, pure, strong, resonant, is who you truly are. You cannot fake your vibration. You cannot paint joy over fear and call it truth. Energy is not impressed by performance. It responds only to resonance. This is why spiritual awakening is not about pretending to be peaceful. It is about uncovering the peace that was buried under the pretending. And when you begin to live from that uncovered place, your life becomes a mirror of your soul. Relationships shift not because you change them, but because your energy no longer entertains anything misaligned. Opportunities appear not because you chase them, but because you became a match for their frequency. Healing unfolds not through effort, but through surrender to the natural intelligence already moving through your being. Every cell in your body listens to your energy. Your immune system, your heart, your breath, they are not separate from your emotional field. They are listeners of your frequency, responders to your state of consciousness. Healing, then, is not a destination. It is a vibration. And when you release the frequency of fear, guilt, and unworthiness, the body remembers its design, harmony. The mind remembers its nature, clarity. The heart remembers its song, love. So the work is not in becoming someone new, it is in letting go of the frequencies that are not you, the shame inherited, the fear absorbed, the stories repeated. These are not your truth. They are echoes of a world that forgot its own divinity. But you are here to remember. You are here to vibrate a new possibility into being. You are here to become a living field of permission, for others to feel safe returning to their own sacred frequency. And this field you create is not bound by time or space. It ripples, it reaches, it heals without your doing. Because energy is not limited to where your hands can touch. Your thoughts send currents into the quantum field. Your love alters the geometry of invisible realms. Your presence changes the weather of hearts. This is not fantasy. This is physics wrapped in grace. You are not small. You are not accidental. You are not powerless. You are the center of a sacred resonance field, and your every breath is tuning the world. Let that breath be true. Let it be deep. Let it be now. And as you breathe now, more aware than ever of the sacred current moving through your lungs, feel how effortlessly life supports you. Feel how the air does not demand that you earn it. How the earth does not require that you prove your worth before it holds you. Feel how the sun rises not because you asked for it, but because it is its nature to rise and yours to receive. You do not have to strive to be sustained. The entire cosmos is already conspiring in your favor, not because of what you've done, but because of what you are. Energy, alive, awake, essential. You are not a bystander in this grand unfolding. You are a thread in the very fabric of existence. Remove you, and the universe loses its symmetry. You matter. Not because of your achievements, but because you exist. The frequency of your soul is a note that cannot be replaced in the song of creation. And yet, you've been told to shrink, to hide, to apologize for your light, to dim it in the name of modesty, to cage it in the name of safety. But no more. That time is over. The energy of awakening is rising in you now, not as fire, but as a deep warmth, a steady glow, a recognition that hiding no longer serves your evolution. That the world does not need another mask, it needs your frequency, raw and radiant. There is a magnetic power that begins to flow through you when you stop fighting your own essence. When you stop betraying your truth to be accepted by those who've forgotten theirs. When you stop adjusting your vibration to match a world that is starving for authenticity. In that surrender, you rise not as a conqueror, but as a lighthouse, unshaken, rooted, luminous. And the beautiful irony is this: the moment you stop chasing love is the moment it finds you. The moment you stop chasing purpose is the moment it unfolds within you. Because everything you are chasing is already vibrating within you, but your seeking has been vibrating lack. Your running has been echoing not yet. Your worry has been broadcasting not enough. And energy only mirrors back what you send out. So shift not by force, but by awareness. By seeing the illusion for what it island. By returning to the knowing that there is no out there that can complete what is already whole in here. You are not a project to fix. You are a presence to embody. You are the sun, not the shadow it casts. You are the space, not the story that echoes through it. Do not underestimate the power of your stillness. In a world addicted to motion, your presence is revolutionary. In a world spinning with noise, your silence is sacred. In a world chasing worth, your being is the reminder that worth is inherent. You don't need to shout your truth to make it real. It becomes real the moment you feel it. And when you begin to live this way, when your energy no longer seeks permission to exist, you become a field of grace. Your eyes speak calm before your mouth speaks words. Your walk becomes a prayer. Your daily tasks become rituals of alignment. You are no longer trying to make things happen. You are allowing them to unfold. This is the path of resonance. Not pushing, not grasping, tuning. Attuning to the frequency of joy, of presence, of being. And the more you attune, the more the world begins to echo back your wholeness. People show up who mirror your truth. Experiences arrive that match your peace. Miracles unfold not because you chase them, but because you no longer vibrate resistance to them. Even pain begins to shift. It is no longer a curse to avoid, it becomes a teacher, a sacred contraction that precedes your next expansion. You begin to meet discomfort with curiosity instead of fear, with openness instead of armor, because you know now it's just energy, moving, asking to be seen, asking to be loved. And when you love what arises, even the heavy frequencies, shame, anger, sadness, they begin to melt. Not by being fixed, but by being welcomed. You do not need to become high vibration by suppressing your emotions. You become high vibration by loving them, by allowing them to move through you without judgment, like rain falling through a forest, cleansing, releasing, nourishing. This is how you heal, not by climbing upward, but by diving inward. not by escaping the energy, but by embodying it, not by being perfect, but by being present, because presence is the highest frequency of all. And it is from this holy place of presence that you begin to co-create, not from desperation, but from clarity, not from the ego's plan, but from the soul's vision. Life begins to rise to meet you, not because you controlled it, but because you finally matched its rhythm. And that rhythm is love, silent, unshakable, ever-expanding love. There is a sacred intelligence in surrendering to love, not as an emotion, not as a fleeting romance, but as the field from which all things rise. Love is not a reward you receive, it is the current you return to, the very vibration of Source itself. And as you remember this, not just in your thoughts, but in the marrow of your being, you begin to realize that every step you've taken, even the ones you thought were missteps, have been guiding you back to this knowing. The pain, the joy, the longing, the release, all of it energy, all of it sacred, all of it pointing you inward, not to isolate, but to integrate, not to hide, but to unveil. You see now that nothing is wasted, no wound, no moment, no heartbreak has been without purpose. Energy does not disappear. It transforms, it recalibrates, and so too must you, not by shedding who you are, but by shedding who you are not. And in this sacred undoing, you begin to vibrate differently. You speak with less urgency and more truth. You move with less resistance and more grace. You stop trying to fix the story and instead inhabit the presence behind it. That presence, the one that watches without judgment, the one that feels without attachment, is your real self. Unmoved by conditions, untouched by past or future. That self is not bound by the world, it carries the frequency of eternity. And from this frequency, life begins to take on a different hue. You no longer view circumstances as obstacles. You see them as mirrors, reflections of the vibration you are ready to either embody or release. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And begin to ask, what is this showing me about the energy I am carrying? This is not blame, it is awakening. The moment you stop waiting for something to shift externally and start tuning your internal field, the world begins to mirror your transformation. Because energy is the first creation, form is the echo. What you send out into the field, your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, is the architecture of your future reality. But it is not enough to think new thoughts if the energy behind them remains unchanged. It is not enough to speak of peace if you vibrate with resentment. The universe does not respond to your declarations, it responds to your state. And so you tend to your state like a sacred fire. You don't wait for others to bring warmth, you become the warmth. You don't wait for life to align you, align with life. And in this sacred act of alignment, you begin to live not from reaction, but from resonance. Not from fear, but from embodiment. This is when true magnetism arises, not the kind that manipulates outcomes, but the kind that draws to you the exact frequency of your soul. The right people arrive not because you went searching, but because your energy called them forth. The right path reveals itself not because you forced it open, but because your vibration became its invitation. And this is why energy is everything. It is not an abstract concept. It is the blueprint of your becoming. It is the soil from which your life grows. If you do not tend to the soil, the seed cannot flourish. But when you cultivate your inner field, when you pull the weeds of doubt, water the roots of presence, and let the sun of your awareness shine through, you become fertile ground for the miraculous. You no longer need to predict how it will unfold. You simply trust that it will. Because life does not need your control. It needs your coherence. It needs your authentic frequency vibrating without apology. And as you walk in this way, clear, calm, open, you will notice something extraordinary. The more you embody your truth, the less noise their island. The more you speak from essence, the more silence follows. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of reverence. People feel it even if they don't understand it. They pause, not because you told them to, but because your energy created a space where their own truth could breathe. This is the quiet power of one who knows themselves as energy. Not the frantic fire of performance, but the steady flame of presence. This is not about being more, it is about being true. And in that truth, there is no longer a need to prove, to persuade, or to please. There is only the deep knowing that you, exactly as you are, vibrating from the center of your being, are already aligned with the divine. And the divine, dear soul, does not need to be chased. It only needs to be remembered. So now you stand at the threshold, not of a new destination, but of an ancient remembrance. Not a step forward, but a falling inward, into the stillness, into the sacred, into the truth that you have always been the one you were waiting for. This knowing does not arrive as thunder, it comes as a softness, a vibration so subtle it could be missed if you're still listening with the ears of the mind. But the soul hears it clearly. And when it does, it weeps not with sorrow, but with the relief of reunion. You have journeyed so far in search of answers, only to find that the deepest wisdom does not shout, it radiates, it reveals, it unveils. And what it reveals is simple but holy, that everything you've ever needed, you have always carried, not in your mind, not in your hands, but in your field, in your frequency. The wisdom is in your bones, the clarity is in your silence, the truth is in your being. This is the paradox of awakening. You stop seeking outside because you realize there is no outside. Everything out there is simply a projection of your vibration. When you shift within, the whole mirror world shifts without. Not because you manipulated it, but because you ceased resisting it. You aligned, you returned. You became one with the frequency of truth, and truth is the only vibration that does not waver. You can feel this now, can't you? A quiet stirring, a sacred stillness rising. It does not demand that you become more. It invites you to shed what you are not. The labels, the roles, the armor, all of it begins to feel heavy in the presence of your real self. You no longer need to carry the weight of who you thought you had to be. You are not here to fulfill a script. You are here to sing a note so true, it ripples through eternity. And you do not need to shout that note. You do not need to amplify it for the world. You simply need to allow it, to let it rise, unfiltered from the quiet well within. That vibration, pure, unshaken, is enough to change the atmosphere around you, not because it conquers, but because it harmonizes. The frequency of your authenticity calls others into theirs. That is the miracle. That is the medicine. That is the way of the awakened. And now, as you breathe in this truth, let yourself feel the freedom that was always yours. Not freedom as escape, but freedom as embodiment. The freedom to be exactly what you are, without condition. The freedom to walk the earth as a soul in motion, not a problem to be solved. The freedom to know that your value was never in question, not by the universe, not by the energy that dreamed you into form. You are not here to earn your place in the world. You are here to express the world that lives within you. And so you begin to live differently. You listen more. You react less. You move not from fear, but from feeling. Your energy speaks before your words do. Your presence arrives before your body does. This is the mark of one who knows themselves as energy, not a thing to be fixed, but a field to be tuned. You tune yourself, not by changing what you do, but by changing how you be. You tune yourself by forgiving what you once held, by releasing what once defined you, by embracing what you once feared. And as you do, your frequency rises not with effort, but with ease, not by addition, but by subtraction. You become a clearer channel for the divine, not because the divine was ever absent, but because now finally you are present. And in this holy presence, all things align, all things begin, all things return. This is the place beyond becoming. This is the place of being. You no longer ask, what must I do? For the doing has dissolved into being. You no longer wonder, who must I become? For the becoming has surrendered to the truth that you were always this, always light, always whole, always an expression of the infinite wrapped in form. And so you stand now, not as a seeker, but as a space in which seeking dissolves. You are not the energy of need, you are the energy of knowing. You do not reach for the divine, you radiate it. You are not the one trying to align with truth, you are the frequency of truth, remembering itself through breath, through body, through this very moment. And in this remembrance, the world does not vanish, but it changes. The way you see it shifts. You no longer divide what is sacred from what is mundane. You feel the presence of Source not just in the stars, but in your fingertips, not just in temples, but in conversations, not just in rituals, but in the way you drink water, the way you touch the earth, the way you speak your own name. Because the truth is this, everything is energy. And when you see through the eyes of energy, everything becomes God. Every face you pass carries the signature of the infinite. Every sound becomes a song of becoming. Every sorrow, a holy recalibration. Every joy, a vibration of alignment. You stop looking for meaning because you feel it. You stop asking for signs because you are one. You have remembered now that your life is not random. It is not a tangle of circumstances. It is a tapestry of energy, woven by the choices you make with your vibration. And as you vibrate higher, the fabric changes, not through effort, but through resonance. So live as resonance, walk as harmony, speak not from the fear of being misunderstood, but from the joy of being revealed. Share your energy not to impress, but to bless. Offer your presence not to be praised, but to be present. And let your life no longer be a performance, but a prayer. And when fear whispers, as it may, when doubt returns, as it will, do not resist. Do not war against the frequencies that rise within you. Meet them with your light. Welcome them as visitors, but no longer as rulers. Say to them, I see you. I honor your place in the unfolding, but I am no longer your home. And they will pass. They always do. Because the moment you return to presence, you return to power. Not the power of dominance, but the power of alignment, the power of coherence, the power of a soul vibrating so deeply in truth that even silence becomes a transmission. This, beloved, is who you are. You are not chasing light, you are the source of it. You are not waiting for love, you are the field from which it grows. You are not reaching for God, you are the frequency through which God expresses. Everything is energy, and so are you. You are the pulse beneath the planet. You are the space behind the sky. You are the echo of eternity made manifest in this moment, in this breath, in this sacred now. So live like it. Live not cautiously, but consciously. Live not in the shadow of what has been, but in the radiance of what is now becoming through you. And when the world forgets, as it often does when it stumbles back into fear and frenzy, do not shrink. Shine. Shine with the soft power of a soul no longer afraid to be seen. Shine with the quiet confidence of one who knows that the divine does not reside somewhere else in some distant realm of approval, but right here, within, humming through every cell, rising through every heartbeat, flowing as you. You are not a visitor in this universe. You are its voice. You are not the energy you carry. You are the consciousness that chose it. And now, you choose anew. You choose to vibrate in truth. You choose to walk as light. You choose to live as love. And as you do, the whole world changes, not because you pushed it, but because you became a field in which truth could bloom. This is the sacred return. This is the homecoming. This is the awakening. Everything is energy. And now, finally, so are you.